The cold darkness of space suddenly blazed with light, as hundreds of massive alien ships appeared near Earth. They came without warning, their enormous hulls blocking out the stars as they formed a perfect battle formation around humanity's home system. Commander Lee Hanna stood quietly on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the alien fleet through the reinforced windows. She was a small woman with serious dark eyes, wearing the blue uniform of Earth's Defense Force. Behind her, dozens of officers and technicians worked frantically at their stations, their voices filled with fear and confusion. The alien ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Each vessel was the size of a small city, covered in strange symbols that glowed with an eerie purple light. There were over 300 of them, and even the smallest was larger than Earth's most powerful battleship. Lieutenant Park Ji-ho ran up to Commander Hanna, his face pale with worry. "Commander, they're sending us a message. It's being broadcast to every radio, television, and computer on Earth." Before Hanna could respond, the air in front of them shimmered, and a hologram appeared. The figure that materialized was both beautiful and terrifying. General Kyrathon stood nearly 8 feet tall, with 6 graceful arms and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Her skin was a deep blue-green color, and when she moved, it was with the fluid grace of a predator. "People of Earth," the alien general began, her voice somehow speaking perfect English through their translation systems. "I am General Kyrathon of the Vorthok Empire. We have been watching your species for some time, and we have decided that you are suitable to serve us." The command center fell completely silent. Every person stopped what they were doing to listen to the alien's words. "You have exactly 72 hours to surrender," Kyrathon continued, her mandibles clicking as she spoke. "Your leaders must come before us and kneel. Your armies must lay down their weapons. Your people must accept that they now belong to the Vorthok Empire." The general paused, and her compound eyes seemed to look directly at each person watching. "If you agree to serve us, we will allow most of you to live. You will work for us, build for us, and fight for us when we command it. If you refuse—" She made a gesture with one of her 6 arms, and the hologram showed images of burning planets and destroyed cities. "Then we will erase every trace of humanity from existence." The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the command center in shocked silence. For a moment, nobody moved or spoke. Then suddenly everyone began talking at once, their voices mixing together in panic and fear. Lieutenant Park grabbed Commander Hanna's arm. "Commander, what do we do? Their ships, ... There are so many of them. Our entire fleet has maybe 50 ships, and theirs are 10 times larger." Commander Hanna continued staring out at the alien fleet. She was thinking about her daughter back on Earth, about her parents, about the billions of people who were depending on the Defense Force to protect them. She thought about all the wars humans had fought throughout history, all the times they had faced impossible odds and somehow found a way to survive. "Commander," Park said again, his voice urgent. "Earth Command is calling an emergency meeting. The President wants all senior officers to discuss surrender terms." Finally, Hanna turned away from the window. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with determination. "Tell Earth Command I'll join their meeting in a few minutes." She walked over to her command station and placed her hand on a red panel that had never been used before. The panel scanned her fingerprints and retina, then beeped. "Softly, Commander. What are you doing?" Park asked. "I'm activating Protocol 7, Hanna said quietly. Park's eyes went wide with shock. Protocol 7 was a secret military plan that had been developed years ago, but never used. It contained strategies for fighting an enemy that was much stronger and more advanced than humanity. The tactics in Protocol 7 were considered so dangerous and unpredictable that most military leaders hoped they would never need to use them. "But Commander, Protocol 7 hasn't been authorized by Earth Command. It's never even been tested properly." Hanna looked at her young lieutenant with a slight smile. "Sometimes, Ji-ho, You have to take risks if you want to survive. The aliens think we're just another weak species that will give up when faced with superior force. They've probably conquered dozens of other worlds the same way." She turned back to look at the alien fleet one more time. "But they don't understand humans. We don't kneel to anyone, no matter how big their ships are, or how many of them there are. We fight, we adapt. We find ways to win, even when winning seems impossible." Park straightened up, some of his fear replaced by determination. "What do you need me to do, Commander?" "Start contacting our best pilots and special forces teams. Tell them to prepare for unconventional warfare. And Jiho." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Tell them that in 72 hours, we're going to show these aliens that humanity doesn't surrender. We fight back." The stage was set for a battle unlike any in human history. The countdown timer on every screen showed less than 2 minutes remaining. Throughout the solar system, humans held their breath as they waited for their government's response to the alien ultimatum. Would Earth surrender to save billions of lives, or would they choose to fight against impossible odds? On the bridge of the massive Vorthok flagship, General Karathon stood perfectly still, her 6 arms folded behind her back. Her compound eyes watched the main display screen, waiting for the expected message of surrender. In her 3 years of military service, she had received the same message from 47 different species. They all said the same thing in the end: "We surrender. Please don't destroy us." The alien general felt confident and relaxed. Her fleet was the largest ever assembled by the Vorthok Empire. Her ships carried weapons that could crack planets in half. Her soldiers were the finest warriors in the galaxy. These primitive humans with their tiny metal ships didn't stand a chance. But when the human transmission finally came, it wasn't from Earth's president or prime minister. Instead, the image of a young Korean woman appeared on screens throughout both fleets. Commander Lee Hanna stood on the bridge of the human flagship, wearing a clean military uniform. Behind her, human officers worked quietly at their stations. "General Karathon," Commander Hanna began, her voice calm and clear. "You have demanded that humanity kneel before your empire. You believe we will surrender because your ships are bigger and your weapons are more powerful than ours." General Karathon's mandibles twitched with surprise. This was not how conquered species usually spoke to her. Where was the fear? Where was the begging for mercy? "But you have made a mistake in your thinking," Hanna continued. "You believe that strength only comes from having the biggest guns, or the most ships. You have forgotten something important. Real strength comes from the courage to stand up when everyone tells you to lie down. Real strength comes from fighting for what you believe in, even when the fight seems hopeless." On the Vorthok bridge, officers began to murmur among themselves. Commander Zeekther, the general's second-in-command, stepped closer to his leader. "General, this is very strange behavior. Usually they are crying and begging by now." "General." Karathon raised one of her arms for silence, her compound eyes focused entirely on the human commander. Something about this small woman's voice made her feel uncomfortable in a way she had never experienced before. Throughout history, humans have faced enemies who were stronger, faster, and better armed than we were, Hanna said, her dark eyes seeming to look directly at each alien watching. "But we survived because we never gave up. We survived because we adapted. We survived because we fought smarter, not just harder." The human commander paused for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice carried a strength that seemed to fill the entire bridge of the Vorthok flagship. "So here is humanity's answer to your ultimatum, General Karathon. You want us to kneel before you, then you kneel first." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving both fleets in complete silence. For several seconds, nobody on either side moved or spoke. The words hung in space like a challenge that echoed through the minds of every person who heard them. On the Vorthok flagship, General Karathon felt something she had not experienced in centuries of warfare: doubt. Her officers looked at her, with confusion and concern. Never in the history of the Vorthok Empire had a species responded to their ultimatum with such bold defiance. "General," said Communications Officer Valrak, his voice uncertain. "Our scouts are reporting strange activity throughout the human solar system. Their ships are moving into new positions, but not defensive ones. It looks like they're preparing for some kind of coordinated attack." Kyrathon studied the tactical displays showing human fleet movements. The human ships were indeed moving, but not in any pattern she recognized. Instead of gathering together for a final desperate defense, they were spreading out and taking positions that made no tactical sense according to standard military doctrine. "They're so small," muttered Commander Ziegthor, looking at the readings. "Their entire fleet has maybe 50 ships. Even their largest vessel is smaller than our escort fighters. What do they think they can accomplish?" But General Kyrathon was beginning to realize that she might have underestimated these humans. The commander's words kept echoing in her mind. "You kneel first." No species had ever dared to speak to the Vorthok Empire that way. No species had ever chosen certain death over submission. "General, what are your orders?" asked Zeke. Was quiet for a long moment, studying the human fleet dispositions on her screens. Finally, she spoke, though her voice carried less confidence than before. "Signal all ships to attack formation. We will show these humans the price of defying the Vorthok Empire. Target their military bases in major cities. If they choose destruction over surrender, then we will give them exactly what they have asked for." But even as she gave the orders, General Kyrathon couldn't forget the absolute certainty in Commander Hannah's voice, or the way the human woman had looked directly into her eyes without fear. For the first time in her long military career, the alien general wondered if this battle would be as easy as all the others had been. The Vorthok fleet began their attack exactly as planned. Massive energy beams shot out from the alien ships, targeting Earth's defense stations and military bases. General Kyrathon watched from her command bridge as bright explosions lit up the darkness of space. She expected to see the complete destruction of human defenses, just like on dozens of other worlds she had conquered. But something was wrong. The explosions were much smaller than they should have been. Instead of seeing huge clouds of debris and wreckage, the alien sensors detected almost nothing floating in space where the human bases used to be. Commander Ziegler, the general's second-in-command, studied his instruments with confusion. "General, this is very strange. The human installations seem to be empty. We're not detecting many life signs or much equipment. It's like they evacuated everything before we attacked." General Kyrathon's compound eyes narrowed as she processed this information. In all her years of conquest, she had never encountered an enemy that abandoned their defensive positions before the battle even began. What were these humans planning? Her question was answered moments later when space around the Vorthok fleet suddenly came alive with movement. Small human ships, no bigger than the aliens' fighter craft, emerged from hiding places behind asteroids and floating debris. They moved in groups of 10 or 12, darting between the massive Vorthok vessels. Like angry insects, Captain Kim Minho led one of these attack groups in his ship, called Ghostwind. He was a young pilot who had spent months training in the secret tactics that Commander Hannah had developed. His ship was small and fast, painted black to blend with the darkness of space. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy their big ships," Minho told his crew over the radio. "We just need to make them blind and deaf, target their sensor dishes and communication equipment." His small vessel twisted and turned between the giant alien cruisers, moving so quickly that their heavy weapons couldn't track him. The Vorthok guns were designed to fight other large ships, not tiny, fast-moving targets that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Behind Minho, 11 other small ships followed the same plan. They swooped in close to the alien vessels, fired their weapons at specific targets, then vanished back into the darkness before the aliens could respond. One by one, the sophisticated sensors and communication arrays on the Vorthok ships began to fail. On the alien flagship, General Kyrathon watched this strange battle with growing frustration and confusion. These humans don't fight like any species we've encountered before, she said to Commander Zekthor. They're not trying to meet us in honorable combat. They attack and run away like cowards. But Zekthor, studying the tactical displays, began to see what the humans were really doing. General, they're not fighting like cowards. They're fighting smart. Look at what they're targeting. Every attack is aimed at our sensors, our communications, our targeting systems. They're trying to take away our advantages, piece by piece. Far away in the asteroid belt, Commander Hannah sat in her mobile command center, watching the battle unfold on holographic displays. Reports came in constantly from the small attack groups scattered throughout the solar system. Lieutenant Park, Gia, read from his screen. Captain Minho's group has knocked out 6 more sensor arrays. Commander Osujin's team has planted explosive charges on 3 supply ships in the back of the alien fleet. All groups are reporting successful attacks with minimal losses. Commander Hannah nodded, pleased with how her plan was working. The aliens expected humans to fight the same way every other species had fought them, by gathering their ships together and trying to win through direct combat. Instead, she was using humanity's greatest strengths, the ability to think creatively and adapt quickly to new situations. Tell all units to begin Phase 2, Hannah ordered. It's time to show these aliens that humans can turn anything into a weapon, as if responding to her command. The space around the Vorthok fleet suddenly filled with what looked like wreckage from destroyed human ships. Pieces of metal, broken equipment, and damaged hull sections drifted slowly toward the alien vessels. But General Kyrathon had been a military commander for too long to be fooled. Her experienced eyes noticed that the debris was moving in patterns that were too regular, too organized to be random wreckage. Those aren't destroyed ships, she realized with sudden alarm. They're mines disguised as debris. She was right. Hidden inside what appeared to be harmless wreckage were powerful explosive devices that the humans had been positioning for hours. As the fake debris drifted close to the Vorthok ships, the mines activated in a carefully timed sequence. The explosions that followed were spectacular. Brilliant flashes of light lit up space as one after another, the hidden mines detonated against the hulls of the alien vessels. 12 Vorthok ships were damaged or disabled in the coordinated attack, their armor cracked and their systems failing. For the first time in her 3 centuries of military service, General Kyrathon found herself facing an enemy that completely ignored the traditional rules of warfare. These humans didn't fight fair, didn't follow standard tactics, and didn't seem to care about military honor. They fought to win, using whatever methods worked, no matter how unconventional, and for the first time in her career, she began to wonder if her mighty fleet might actually lose this battle. General Kyrathon stood in her damaged command center, staring at the tactical displays in complete shock. Red warning lights flashed all around her, and smoke drifted from broken control panels. In just 6 hours, these primitive humans had done something that no other species had ever accomplished. They had brought the mighty Vorthok fleet to its knees, without fighting a single traditional space battle. General, we have lost contact with 12 more ships, reported Commander Zekthor, his voice shaking with frustration and fear. Our long-range sensors show that someone is systematically destroying our communication equipment. Ships throughout the fleet are reporting that they cannot receive orders or coordinate with other vessels. The alien general's compound eyes focused on the battle reports flowing across her screens. 30% of her fleet was either damaged or completely out of contact. Ships that had conquered entire star systems were now floating helplessly in space, unable to communicate with each other or follow coordinated battle plans. What General Kyrathon didn't know was that Commander Osujin and her special team were responsible for this chaos. The Korean officer had spent months studying captured alien technology, learning how the Vorthok Empire's ships worked and where their weaknesses were. She had discovered that the aliens relied heavily on a centralized command system. If you cut off their communications, their ships became confused and helpless, moving through space in small, nearly invisible pods. Sujin and her team had been sneaking up on alien ships for hours. They didn't try to destroy the massive vessels. Instead, they carefully planted explosive charges on communication dishes and command relays. "Remember, we're not here to blow up their ships," Sujin whispered to her team as they approached another Vorthok communications vessel. "We just need to make them unable to talk to each other. A blind and deaf enemy is much easier to defeat than a dead one." The plan worked perfectly. As more and more Vorthok ships lost contact with their commanders, the alien captains didn't know what to do. Their military training had taught them to follow orders from above, but now no orders were coming. Many ships simply stopped moving, waiting for instructions that would never arrive. Back in her mobile command center, Commander Hannah watched her strategy unfold exactly as she had hoped. The Vorthok Empire's greatest strength, their disciplined military organization, had become their greatest weakness when faced with an enemy that refused to follow the rules of traditional warfare. Lieutenant Park Ji-ho looked up from his control station with excitement. "Commander, all our units are in position for the final phase. Captain Minho's squadron is ready to begin the assault on the alien flagship." Commander Hannah took a deep breath. Everything had led to this moment. All the planning, all the risks, all the unconventional tactics had been designed to create this one opportunity. "Tell Minho to begin the final attack," she ordered. "Remind him that we only get one chance at this. If we fail, the war is over." What happened next was the most daring military operation in human history. Using the confusion and communication breakdowns they had created, 30 human ships suddenly appeared from different directions around General Karathon's flagship. The alien defenders, unable to coordinate their response or call for help, found themselves completely overwhelmed. Captain Kim Minho led his small corvette Ghostwind directly toward the massive alien flagship. His ship was tiny compared to the enemy vessel, like a sparrow attacking an eagle, but he had surprise on his side. "Are we really going to try to board their ship?" asked one of his crew members, staring at the enormous alien vessel growing larger in their view screen. "That's exactly what we're going to do," Minho replied with determination. "The aliens expect us to fight them ship to ship in space. They're not prepared for us to land on their ship and fight them face to face." The Ghostwind, followed by dozens of other small human vessels, crashed through the flagship's defensive shields and smashed directly into the alien ship's main hangar bay. The impact sent shockwaves through both vessels, but the human ships had been specially modified for this kind of assault. Within minutes, human soldiers were pouring out of their ships and into the corridors of the Vorthok flagship. They moved, quickly and quietly, using maps of alien ship designs that they had studied for months. The Vorthok crew, trained for fighting other spaceships, had no idea how to deal with enemy soldiers running through their own hallways. Commander Hannah herself led the assault, moving through the alien ship with a small team of her best soldiers. She knew exactly where she needed to go, the command center, where General Karathon was waiting. As the human soldiers advanced deeper into the ship, General Karathon finally understood what she was facing. These weren't just brave fighters or clever tacticians. These were humans who had completely reimagined what warfare could be. They didn't accept that battles had to be fought in traditional ways. They created their own rules and forced their enemies to fight on human terms. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridors of the flagship. General Karathon, who had conquered 47 worlds and defeated countless enemies, prepared for the most important battle of her career. The small human commander who had refused to kneel was coming to face her directly, and for the first time in 3 centuries, the alien general was not certain she would win. The heavy doors to the command center slowly opened with a soft hissing sound. Commander Lee Hannah stepped into the heart of the alien flagship, her weapon in her hand, but pointed toward the floor. She moved carefully, but without fear, her dark eyes taking in every detail of the strange room around her. At the center of the chamber stood General Kyrathon, alone and waiting. The tall alien had removed all her weapons and placed them on the floor beside her feet. This was a gesture of honor among her people, showing that she was ready to face her enemy in fair combat, without tricks or advantages. "Commander Hannah," the alien general said, her voice calm despite everything that had happened. "You have done something that I thought was impossible. In my 300 years as a military leader, no species has ever defeated the Vorthok Empire the way you have defeated us today." Hannah walked slowly into the room, keeping her movements respectful, even though they were enemies. "General Kyrathon, I didn't come here to destroy your empire, or to make you look foolish. I came here to show you that humans deserve to be treated as equals, not as slaves." The two commanders began to circle each other slowly, like dancers in some ancient ritual. Despite being from completely different worlds, they both recognized something familiar in each other, the spirit of a true warrior who fought not for glory, but for something they believed in. General Kyrathon's mandibles clicked together in a sound that Hannah had learned meant the alien was thinking deeply about something. "Your fighting methods were completely new to us," the general admitted. "We studied many different species before we came to Earth. We knew how they would fight, what weapons they would use, what strategies they would follow. But you, you did none of those things." "That's because humans are different," Hannah replied simply. "When we face a problem that seems impossible to solve, we don't give up. We don't follow the old rules if the old rules don't work. We find new ways, create new solutions, and adapt to whatever situation we face." The alien general nodded slowly, her compound eyes reflecting the lights of the command center. Then she did something that surprised everyone in the room. She extended her two primary arms toward Hannah in a gesture of greeting and respect. "Perhaps," General Kyrathon said carefully, "it is time for the Vorthok Empire to learn a different way of meeting new species." 3 days later, representatives from both sides met for an official ceremony. But instead of the humiliating surrender that everyone expected, something completely different happened. Commander Hannah didn't demand that the aliens pay for the damage they had caused, or give up their territory, or serve humanity as punishment for their attack. Instead, she proposed something that had never happened before in the history of the Vorthok Empire, a partnership between equals. The humans and the Vorthok would share knowledge, culture, and technology. They would learn from each other, instead of one side ruling over the other. General Kyrathon, speaking for her entire empire, officially recognized Earth's right to exist as a free and independent world. She also extended an invitation for humanity to join the Galactic Council, where dozens of different species worked together to solve problems and maintain peace. "For centuries, your empire has conquered other worlds through force," Hannah said during the ceremony, with both fleets watching on their view screens. "But real strength doesn't come from making others bow down to you. Real strength comes from helping others become stronger and better than they were before." When the ceremony was over and the Vorthok fleet was preparing to leave, General Kyrathon asked to speak privately with Commander Hannah one last time. The two leaders met in a quiet observation room, looking out at the stars. "I have been a soldier for 3 centuries, the alien general said quietly. "I have conquered 47 different worlds. I have accepted the surrender of hundreds of different species. But you have taught me something more important than how to win battles." "What's that?" Hannah asked. "You have shown me that there is more honor in helping others stand up than in forcing them to kneel down. True leadership means inspiring people to be their best, not demanding that they obey without question." Kyrathon paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried a warmth that hadn't been there before. "Maybe it's time for the Vorthok Empire to learn how to make friends instead of slaves." As the last alien ship disappeared into the darkness of space, Lieutenant Park Ji-ho joined Commander Hannah on the observation deck of Luna Station, which had been repaired after the battle. "Do you really think they will change the way they do things?" he asked. Hannah smiled as she watched the stars where the Vorthok fleet had vanished. "Change is what humans do best, Ji-ho. And if we can teach them how to change, then maybe we've made the entire galaxy a better place for everyone." Her words turned out to be exactly right. Within 1 year, the Vorthok Empire began reaching out to the worlds they had conquered in the past, offering friendship and partnership instead of demanding obedience. And at the heart of this great change was the lesson they had learned from humanity, that the greatest victory doesn't come from forcing others to kneel, but from helping them find the courage to stand tall.